Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 271. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is with me. We are here at the Casa de Cold Coffee, but let me just say, ain't nothing cold about it. It is hot. It's 106 degrees outside, man. It is. We are kicking into Vegas summer, man. There is no question about it. As much as we like to brag about this town of ours, and we do enjoy it, it does get incredibly hot in the summer. And, 106 was the high today. And I've been feeling every
I think
bit
it got higher. It's showing me right now that it's 107.
Oh, my God. So it even got higher than the high.
It must have. It must have. It is not normally this hot.
It doesn't feel like it. Not in June. Like, normally we at least
doesn't, but Grant, I've been going outside
July.
for a little bit, little moments. So, I mean, that's the key. It can get hot unless you have some silly reason to be running around during the daylight.
Oh, you just don't go outside.
Just don't go outside, and you don't notice it as much.
That's the whole key. People ask, how do you survive when it's so hot? I'm like, don't go outside.
Air conditioning.
Yeah, man, you don't go outside.
But yeah, no. We actually, me and Morgan just sat outside for a little bit. It was time to fill up the pool for a little bit, so we sat outside and
decompressed from the work day for just a second. All the UFC 250 fight week, we had to decompress from that a little bit.
Yeah, man. There's something about staring at web Zoom videos for so long. At some point, you just want to. You're like, is my eyes just getting blurry, or is it what I'm looking at or something? But yeah, after a while, just staring at. I mean, I love what we do. I love.
I know you always hate to complain. We really do hate to complain. Like the things that we complain about, I feel like we're just trying to let people know like the parts of our job that do kind of suck a little bit, and the parts that are repetitive. Yeah. But like at the end of the day, it's like, shut up, bro. Yeah. Like you cover MMA.
Like today was interesting. Stop. Yeah, so today by 8 a.m. I arrived at the Holiday Inn Express to get my COVID test.
Got a COVID test.
So that happened.
I did mine. Number 5 for me is my 5th COVID test.
So luckily this was a throat swab, so I didn't get to feel what you got with the whole nose thing. But from that point, was come back home, log into get the computer set up because we had the web stuff that started at 11.
Virtual media day.
The virtual media day. So normally they'll open up an hour ahead. So at 10 o'clock is when the window opens up. So if you have any technical issues or whatever, you can connect and you can do that sort of thing. So at that point, even before the 10 o'clock, I'm sitting in this chair.
That's right.
So by the time, just before we just walked outside to sit and pound 2 beers, I've been sitting in this chair practically nonstop. So at some point, regardless of what material that you're working on that you're covering, it could be a movie that you're working on that you love and whatever. At some point, you just hit a point where you get a little stir crazy.
Yeah, it's not like the old days where we would at least drive down to T-Mobile or drive down to New York, and go set up your gear there and talk to people. It's just
which makes for super long days.
It does make for a long day, but it's at least you're engaging with people, you're busy, and you're seeing it and you're moving around. Yeah, now these virtual media days, and again, it's severe first world problems that we're complaining about right now. But yeah, you literally just sit in front of a computer now instead of walking around, setting up, talking to people, doing all that. So
I mean, there's good parts about it because there's a whole heck of a lot less you have to carry on your back and you have to set up and other stuff. But one, the quality isn't like what you normally would want to get for it that you do it. And 2, you just, you miss the interaction, like, it's cool that now I know on Thursdays, I'm like, hey, Morgan's coming over. Besides that, I'm like, it's me and Agent H all day, every day. I know. Now it's getting to the point that now with the restaurants starting to open up, maybe we can go out and get a place. But I think that's it. Maybe it's just I've officially gone stir crazy a bit. I was always been crazy, but now I'm just officially stir crazy.
Well, it's fair. Well, listen, since we're laying our complaints out there real quick, I just want to share with everybody how bad my day has been. My day has been
you've had a day.
So, similar as you, I woke up, went and got my COVID-19 test, came back to the house, set up to start working. Me and you were both working on the virtual media day. We had a nice system going on. We were like, all right, we're set up. We're ready to handle this. And my Wi-Fi crashed at my house, which has crashed twice in the last 2 weeks or so.
It's like there's a bunch of people working.
I was going to say, which I guess is pretty understandable given the strain that's on the system or whatever. But so it was done. I said, well, okay, I'll connect to my phone. But my phone, the data's good, but it's not good enough to download these 800 meg files and then process them and upload them again. Yeah. It slows things down. So I said, you know what? I got to go over to Cold Coffees anyway, do the podcast. You know what? I'll just jump in. I'll go over early, right? Sucked it up, jumped in my car, drove over here, set up in here, opened my computer, get set up, and my computer just crashes. Like, it just won't work. Like, I've never had problems like it. It just won't open a damn program. So I spent a good 60 to 90 minutes trying to, like, basically just every...
And it was legit, like, done. Like, I used to do tech support, and, like, there's a moment I even looked at your computer and it just didn't want to do anything.
Nothing.
It
would not open Safari, would not open Chrome, just would not open a program, right? So I said, "What? God damn it, what's going on?" So finally get it working, and then I can't
After
even
it broke my network.
Yeah, then it broke your network. I can't get on your internet. Your internet goes down over here.
You brought the virus over.
The virus came with me.
You brought the computer coronavirus over.
So I'm literally a walking Wi-Fi crash machine.
You're a
it's terrible. So that happens.
And I didn't want to say that. I was like, my internet's solid. I've never had an issue on a web media day. And literally, when you had your issues, I thought because you did that little fix, you ran some application, and it cleared up after that.
Yeah.
But at some point, I was like, I wonder if it did some network check where it did something to reset the network or whatever. But it was just a whole calamity of just like crap that just
nonstop. So it put us behind, and luckily, we got to the grind. But so we get to the point where I can take a break to go get a couple frosty beverages, right?
That was a dinner break.
Sorry, where I could go pick up some food if you happen to be on the MMA Junkie staff and we're reading our internal Slack messages. If you're not on the MMA Junkie staff,
it was a beer run.
And we're not reading our internal Slack messages, I was not getting food. I was going to make a beer run. So I went to go make a beer run, and dude, I'm telling you right now. So I walk in.
It's calories.
Again, it's sustenance. Yeah. I set up a meal. It's a liquid meal. As you do around the Casa de Cold Coffee, I mean, the expansive state. Once you get outside of the expansive grounds, there is a gas station very close, but it's way overpriced. There's a 7-Eleven here,
and the choices are a little bit limited.
Choices are limited. It's way overpriced. So
But you went up to CVS.
I went to CVS, but let me tell you what happened.
You know why? Because the gas station doesn't have the
award-winning PBR. But let me tell you what happened. So I walk in. I'm having this bad day, but I'm like, all right.
Did you wear your mask?
Things are about to... Of course I put my mask on. That's what you do.
That's what you do.
You wear your mask.
You wear your mask, folks.
So I wore my mask. So I walked in. As I'm walking in, there's this little old lady, like little tiny, like 4'10", kind of like old lady.
Did you push her out of the way?
I didn't push her out of the way. You
took her beer?
She's got a case of PBR.
Shut up.
And I'm like, if this bitch took the last case of PBR, I was like, because
you would come up and take it.
Because I'm already having that kind of day, right? Like I'm having the kind of day where it's already crashed once, it's already crashed twice. And the CVS, I mean, they don't have like a beer cave, you know what I mean? They've got a lot of beer, but they don't have like, So I'm like, if this bitch took the last case of PBR,
I'm gonna follow her out to her car. I'm gonna follow her out to her car.
We're gonna have a problem. Okay, so luckily I went. And there was
more.
There was more. There was it wasn't the coldest. I think
nobody's
going
to report you after this.
That's right. I did not push the little old lady to the curb, but she was in danger. Let me tell you. So I thought, you know what, my day's looking up. I guess it's not as bad as I thought. But then on the way home, I was driving away from CVS, and the car literally, as I'm driving down the road, just turned off. It turned off, and I was about halfway between CVS and the expansive grounds of the Casa de Cold Coffee,
which is so far. Which is just getting through the gate
to the gate itself.
Just to the gate.
I mean, once you get past it, and then it's not even the gate; it's the second gate.
You
know, I'm talking about
with the winery. You got to pass the vineyards.
You get it. You know what I mean? There's all those levels of security to make it here.
Crazy.
It's up. And so I'm like, it's 108 degrees. I'm on this patch of asphalt. Fortunately, I turned the car off. And it did turn back on.
Were you able to get off to the side of the road?
Yeah, luckily I wasn't on Sahara yet. I was on like that little back road or whatever.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I was fine.
That's good.
But yeah, I was like, dude, my car just died. I'm like, of course my car just died because that's the day I'm having. But it started back up. So I guess it's been a weird
roving tech issue today.
Dude, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Everything I touched just stopped working.
What else have you touched here? Don't touch that. Don't touch the storage
system. Don't touch any of your new gear.
Don't touch. You can touch the pretzels. They can't hurt.
Can't break those.
That's crazy, though. I mean, did you see was there any sort of like? I'm not a car person. I mean, I think I do okay, but like, was the temperature thing like hot or anything, or just just looked like a technical glitch?
I just looked like some kind of technical glitch.
I wonder if just because I think maybe because the heat just spiked up so much that the car was probably just really hot, and it just kind of weirded out or something. Well, it's funny because I asked you if it was like a hybrid car or something, because I know a lot of those sort of cars do that sort of thing where they shut on and shut off, and maybe the computer just overworked itself or something, or it just had a case of the Mondays or something. But maybe it's just one of those days. It was the day for the universe to say, John, you and electronics are not going to have a good day today. It was just weird because the fact that my network went down after you got here is bizarre, because I haven't ever had an issue recording these
my car has never stopped working. Everything's been
fine. It's
a
new car, right?
It's a new car, man. It's only got like 10,000 miles on it. So
I still got the new car smell.
I'm telling you, man. All right. Well, listen. It's over. The work day is over. Now we're just sitting down, enjoying a award-winning Pass Me Ribbon, and talking some MMA. So on the bright side, looking through the good things.
Look at that.
I mean, on the bright side, we're the frosty beverages are on ice right now.
Yeah, look at that. Agent H hit me up. She's like, "Do you guys want like a little ice chest or something?" I said, "Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt."
Gosh,
just to take you behind the curtain. A lot of times when Mr. Morgan comes over and we start working, we literally just take the case of beer and just open it and set it right next to us.
Yep.
But right now, there are some actually sitting in a little ice bucket. I forgot we even had this thing. It just sits up in the cabinet.
Well, we'll be using that more often over here, sir.
Well, we never have ice. The only reason I have ice is because the other day we bought that bottle of whiskey for something, right? It was just a bottle of whiskey, right? We never have ice cubes here. So
you only got ice because you had whiskey.
Yeah, we had whiskey and we had some other little stuff, but yeah. So so if you ever see ice cubes like this, we probably have a bottle somewhere around here.
I love it. Well, might have to tip into that a little bit later.
Well, we have to get another one.
This is the leftover. All right, listen. Good. All right,
so we finished that off last week.
We talked about the negative things, the bright side. The band is all back together for UFC 250, right?
That's true.
The whole team is working this week. We actually all worked short weeks because we all got a Memorial Day holiday, like a roaming holiday. So we moved that up this week. Anybody that listens knows
that's why we had the extra day this week.
That's right. We've been dealing with furloughs and stuff, like a lot of people in America. Our workplaces had to deal with that. So, but remember, this was originally supposed to be a dual event fight week. So when we laid out the quarter, this was supposed to be a UFC and Bellator event on the same Saturday. So that's why we're all working this week. But the bright news, here in Vegas is you and I are both working an event together for the first time in a long time. As you said, we both got our test done this morning, waiting to get the results back of that, but we haven't heard anything, so we're probably good to go. It will be, I'll say this, it will be only me at weigh-ins tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Because only one person per outlet is allowed into the weigh-ins. You could come if you wanted to and show up in the media tent.
Well, she hasn't told me that I'm not inside yet, but I figured I would know by now.
Yeah, I think it's one person per outlet is what I was told. So you could show up and come to the media tent, but for weigh-ins...
I'm like half a person.
For weigh-ins...
How about 1.5 per outlet?
Yeah, I'm just barely working.
I could just walk sideways.
They keep it tight, man. They're keeping a tight lid on this. But for fight night... you and I will both be there, so it'll be. So I'm excited for that because that means that I'm allowed to go into the Apex this time.
Who's going to do the interviews if you're inside?
You will, sir. You will be handling the interviews. You
Boo.
And Hot T. Hot T will be handling it.
Hot T and maybe Jose.
Jose Youngs, I imagine, will be here from MMA Fighting. Hot T, of course, the Oscar Willis from the Mac Life that always helps us out. Part of the team now at this point, basically. But I'll be inside the Apex, so I'm excited because I didn't get to do that the first night. So I'm kind of excited to see, to experience the atmosphere firsthand. I mean, obviously I got to experience it all in Jacksonville, and I've been inside the Apex, but I haven't done the UFC experience inside the Apex. So I'm kind of excited to do that, and I'm happy that we both get to work an event together.
Yeah, it should be interesting sitting in another tent in the heat.
They got the. Well, I will say this: they got the air conditioning fixed.
Did they get that fixed?
It was completely pleasant. Yeah, because
the first day, I heard it was bad.
The first day last week was funny. We got there the next morning for weigh-ins, and I was actually inside the Apex, so I didn't have to experience it, thankfully. Yeah. But the people that were out in the tent said like the AC wasn't working. It was miserable. Yeah. It was 100 degrees outside.
And those are the suckers that like to dress up when they go to those things.
Oh yeah.
Well, at least I guess maybe most of them do it on fight night. Like some of the people come all suited up,
sure.
And I'm
suckers.
I don't do the suit thing.
Nah.
I mean, unless it's a wedding or a funeral, I don't really suit up well. I don't even really own any like plethora of suits. Like proper adults at this age should probably have like least 4 or 5 good suits that you can maybe switch around for occasions.
I've built myself up to 3 now.
See, that's good. You're on your way.
I
think I have maybe one.
Only for the broadcasting work.
For the broadcasting work. That makes sense. I mean, like, you figure for most of the work we do, I mean, just dirty and sweaty. Oh, well, that's
and I'm 42 years old. My mom bought one of them for me, so that tells you how much I like
suits. Moms are wonderful.
Mom was like, John, I'm tired of seeing you wear the same suit. I'm going to buy you one. I was like, you don't have to do that. She's like, I like watching you work, but you need another suit. She's like, I'm buying it. She's like, but you have to buy the colors that I tell you. I'm like, Mom, if you're going to buy me a suit, I'll buy whatever colors I tell you.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's funny. Moms will never stop momming you, and there's a great thing about that. I mean, like, when I just recently did the surgery, my mom came and totally mommed me, and it was the best. And recently, my birthday is coming up actually this month now that we're into June. And I had been dropping hints about how I was going to get like a freezer, and my mom now is just like, maybe for your birthday I'll help you get that freezer or like another fridge. And I'm just like thinking, man, I'm like, that's expensive. I'm like, no, Mom, it's good. Then I start thinking, I'm like, well, if you really want to.
I feel bad, but
I'm like, if you really want to, I'm like, moms, you do your thing. So yeah, you gotta love moms, man. But yeah, I mean, it'd be funny if my mom ever suggested that I needed to get a suit. I'd probably be like, all right, what's going on? Who's dying? Who's dying or who's getting married again?
They'll get you the suit first, and then they'll break the news of the funeral you're going to. Oh, by the way. Oh, terrible.
Well. I should be better about that. I should adult more. And I know I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that will probably laugh at that. But when you look at me and John, do we look like the fashionistas? Probably not.
No.
Not when PBR is our regular go-to.
That's my fashion right there. That's my fashion. All right, let's talk about UFC 250. Speaking of the COVID-19 test, kind of developing as we're sitting there talking about it. Earlier, it was reported today, and our man Nolan King has been all over the story all day, that one of Ian Heinish's cornermen tested positive for COVID-19, and Ian Heinisch was subsequently kind of basically temporarily removed from the card. A replacement was found in Anthony Ivy to face Gerald Meerschaert. But it looks like a subsequent test was done. Basically, everybody was isolated.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, between the UFC and Nevada, it's much stricter than it was in Florida. As they said, hey, we learned here, and we're going to make it better. It's definitely much more stricter here. There's a lot less movement than I saw in Florida, but they've been self-isolated. They did another test, and it found out the second test subsequently came back negative. So it looks like
for this corner person.
That's right. So it looks like as we're sitting here right now. Now again, things may change overnight. We record this on Thursday night the way we always do. There could be surprises Friday morning, but as of now, it looks like Ian Heinisch is back on the card. And everything's okay, and his cornerman actually tested negative a second time. I imagine they'll probably keep testing him all the way up to it. So interesting. I mean, they're definitely, keeping on top of this stuff. And fortunately, we haven't had any positive tests since Jacare Souza. It looked like we were going to have one this weekend, but as of now, it looks like that was a false positive. So it looks like the entire card is going to be held together. We'd heard rumors of kind of backup plans in place and fighters being on standby just in case things do happen. But it looks like we're going to go ahead and have the full card. And I got to say, I like this card. I like UFC. I do not think UFC 250 is going to do very good pay-per-view wise. And
yeah,
I don't care. That's not really my job, to care if the UFC's pay-per-view sales do good. I don't think this one is going to perform very good. That said, I like it. I like the card. And we'll kind of break down the fights here in a little bit and talk about it more specifically. But just looking at the card as a whole, Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer, a title fight in the main event.
Yep.
I get it. Felicia Spencer to most people is relatively unknown, and Amanda Nunes is the GOAT. It's sometimes you reach that level of domination where people don't even feel like it's going to be a contest, so why are they really excited by it? And unless you carry that Mike Tyson aura of, how long can a person last, then it's not there.
Do you think it got that way with Cyborg at the end?
Where people were less interested in their fights?
Because they just assumed?
I think so. I definitely think so. I think people were less interested in tuning in because she did at least have a little bit of that Tyson-esque.
Yeah.
Where you're like.
Oh, she certainly had it. Yeah, she certainly had it.
But at the same time, I do feel like people were just like, I don't even care. Like, who is this chump that she's facing,
That's true. I guess I'm just wondering. I'm wondering if I ever felt that myself or if I was. I know I was always excited to see Cyborg fight because you just wanted to see domination.
Right.
But I guess I could see where maybe the casuals But even casuals.
But the other thing too. Well, here's the other thing too about Cyborg is that for most of Cyborg's career, you weren't being asked to pay $60 for it.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So are you willing to just flip on the TV to see some girl kick this other girl's ass because sure. Are you going to pay $60 for it? That's a whole different level of commitment.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
True.
So I think that's there. But when I look at this card as a whole, I'm intrigued by it, man, especially the bantamweight division. I mean, you talk about 3 big fights in the bantamweight division. We're going to really get some clarity there, which the bantamweight division is so exciting right now. And now it's wide open because, no disrespect to Henry Cejudo, but we understood his MO, right? He was picking the biggest names that he could, not necessarily the most dangerous contenders, the biggest names. And I don't blame him for that. He wants to put those skins in the wall and say, I beat that legend and that legend, that legend. And if Henry Cejudo beats Corey Sandhagen, for instance, I mean, we would be like, wow, that's impressive. But, the average person isn't going to, whatever. But if you beat Jose Aldo, if you beat, Frankie Edgar, if you beat, you know what I mean?
True.
Like, now those are big. So I don't know. I'm excited about it right now. I'm excited about where things stand. And I think this card, even when you go down to the prelims, there's some fun fights on here. So overall, I think it's easy to just say, well, I'm not really keyed up for this weekend. It's not that good, and I get it, man. Like we've been saying from the beginning, if you don't have $60 right now, do not think that makes you a bad fan. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's watching dollars right now. Everybody's pinching pennies, so no big deal if you can't afford it. But honestly, I don't think this card is that bad. I still don't think it's going to be very good on pay-per-view, but I think it's going to be pretty entertaining.
Yeah, and I agree with it. When you look down the lineup, I mean, there's a lot of quality fights that mean a decent bit for the division. And I think you have the token sort of gatekeeper fights and fights where people seem like are they still performing at the top level, or is the new guy going up? What I like also about this is the fact that I like that the UFC still seems to be making an effort to not always put the female fights lower in the cards.
Sure.
That they're giving them main card slots. I mean, they deserve it. Amanda certainly deserves it for what she's been able to do it. So I love it. I love it that this isn't just a main card on a random UFC fight night middle nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, kudos to that. But also, and going outside of MMA, like what you said with the COVID thing going on, with the economy just being sort of shuttered, asking anybody to do $60 is a hard lift. But even looking outside of that, with other factors and the things going on in the world right now, especially with the whole George Floyd protests and things of that, there is a movement going on right now of real life matters that it kind of makes you anything in the entertainment area, it's easy to say, okay, does this matter right now? Is there something else? Now, that being said, it is kind of nice to be able to turn the brain off for a little bit and watch entertainment, whether it be a movie, whether it be read a book or something, because a lot of that real-life, hard-hitting shit that we really need to address takes a lot out of you because it is heavy and it is needed and it is necessary. So I can see where somebody at this point right now could just be like, I just don't feel like I need to spend $60 when there's other important shit.
I get it.
Going on. Like, this is one of those turning points. There's a lot of heavy shit going on in the world right now that I can see where somebody's like, should I be going to support my brothers out there protesting this weekend as opposed to sitting at home drinking beer and watching fights? There's a lot of those questions, that could be brought up and somebody can think of it. That's a personal decision. That's a personal choice. Your support and your things. And, I can easily see where somebody's like, the last thing on my mind right now is a pay-per-view card, regardless of whoever is on it. I could see if it was a John Jones fighting Francis Ngannou, you could have some people that are still questioning whether they either want to tune into something else that's less important. It's just one of those. And I don't even want to say weekends because this movement and this thing needs to go until it works itself to a better position. But this is the kind of thing that it's not going to be over this weekend, and things can be moving forward. But that's another thing where it just feels weird almost in a sense when you're trying to pull interest into watching something where part of my interest is like, oh man, I should be watching the news to see what's happening here, what's happening there, because the scope of this movement it's everywhere. You saw Adesanya and those guys doing it over and where he's at.
Yeah,
you see it happening over in London.
Yep.
You see this thing's happening. This is a worldwide thing that is happening because the
Which
status
is pretty
quo.
incredible to see.
It is in our
Pretty
lifetime
incredible
to see actual change of something that's been simmering underneath the out of sight thing that has needed to happen, and finally, unfortunately, something did happen that has brought it to the surface, and now it's being addressed. So it kind of makes, and it's so weird because this is how we make our living, is covering sports like this, but it, when it all boils down to, the sport is an entertainment field, so it's hard sometimes to think of like,
well, No, you're right. I mean, listen. I mean, since you brought it up, I mean, the scenes that we've been watching are tough to watch. I mean, obviously from the very start with the incident and George Floyd's death. But what we've seen since then has been hard, man. It's heavy every night to see our world. When you think about it building on top of what we were already dealing with coronavirus and all that we're dealing with, and the
it's like,
protests.
what else can you pile on?
The
right
protests are amazing. It's so amazing to see people get behind this because racism is fucking stupid. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
Like it's just there's no place for it in our world, man. There really is. You and I have been fortunate enough to travel all over the world, man. And I think if people, once you get a chance to see the whole world, when you get your blinders off and you realize, we're all doing the same thing. We all got the same struggles. We all got the same goals. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. We're all in this together. Like, stop. Every society, color, race, whatever, we're all the same. So racism is ridiculous. And for that to even be like an argument that needs to be made is just dumb, right? But it's dumb. Now, the looting that's good. So the protests are beautiful, man, and it's amazing to see the world come together. The looting sucks. There's no excuse for that, and it serves no purpose. I mean, I get it. Like, I've always said, like, if people are like looting a grocery store during like a hurricane where there's no supplies or something, like, I got you, dog. You know what I mean? Like, you need food for your house. Go steal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, nobody can get this.
I mean, it still sucks, but at least there's a reason behind it.
But at least I'm cool with that. But yeah, like, go in and get your 4K TV or whatever. Like, just that. Come on, dog. That's not okay. So that's awful to see. But then the scenes of the police, man. And I get it. Like, I'm not trying to jump on the police either. Like, I don't envy that role, man. Like, dude, they have to put their life every time they go out the door. When I go out the door for a business trip, I don't worry that I'm not coming back home. You know what I mean? But like every single day they go on a shift, that's a very real possibility. And even the tension that they're facing on the front lines with people yelling at them and screaming at them, and they're trying to monitor 1,000 people and what's going on in situations, man, what they're processing. Like, I do not envy them. At the same time, it does not make a lot of those scenes that we've seen where they're clearly attacking innocent people. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's disgusting. Right. I can understand to a degree how they're on edge as well, but it doesn't make it right. In the same way, the looting isn't right. That police violence, you know what I mean? It's just, so there's just bad scenes. It's hard to see. It's hard to watch. But I do hope that we'll emerge on the other side of this better. The change, this can't be just empty. You know what I mean? It can't be just, okay, we talk about it and then everything goes back to normal. And I'm proud to see how long people have stayed committed to this. You know what I mean? So clearly, I think anybody that knows us probably knows where we stand on this. But for me, it's been tough because, you're right. What we do is entertainment, and we try not to be too political. I don't want to ignore the issue, but at the same time, I don't know. I do feel like I want to give people a place to unplug a little bit and just say, you know what?
You need to.
I just want to talk some fights, man. You know what, man? My world is too heavy, and so I don't want to ignore it because that would be wrong. But at the same time, like, and I think you and I have touched on key topics over the years, but just say, hey, I also want to say, hey, this is where we stand. We support you. We believe in you, and we're here if anybody wants to talk or whatever. The same way we shared all that we've been going through with our financial situations and our work situations. We're open books. But at the same time, I do want to give people just a chance to, like, hey, I just want to talk about some fights and just enjoy myself.
That's it. And it's the kind of thing that dialogue needs to happen, and that's the kind of thing that we don't want to spend a whole show discussing kind of things, but it's the kind of things that we as a people need to discuss things more and to find out the things that happen. Because just like you said with the cops, I love my boys in blue. I love my military. I love that other kind of things. But I think, just like you pointed out earlier, when we saw some of these areas, things need to change. Habits need to change. You can't go, and while I respect what they do wholeheartedly, you also can't you have to think about your actions every day. You can't walk down the street, see somebody that, oh, I'm not liking what this person's doing, and just have carte blanche to push them out of the way, to pepper spray, to shoot them, to tase them.
The scenes have been disgusting.
It's been unreal, and it's hard to justify some of the things because I support and love the people that are willing to put themselves in harm's way for our livelihood, our country, our protection. But even that, you need to do it within reason. You cannot be a robot. You cannot be a blind tool. You need to do that sort of thing. And with the whole thing of this, and again, I'm not going to drag this too far, because this is the kind of thing that you guys know us, and you know that this is the kind of stuff. You want to have beers, and we can talk, and we can really have the conversations, and you want to enlighten me, and you want to enlighten John, and you want to talk about these things. That's the best, when brothers can sit down and have some beers and talk real shit.
Yep.
It's never going to get all out in one show, but we wanted to make sure we talked a little bit about it, because there needs to be a change, because the systematic racism, the systematic oppression that's been happening, that a lot of us, without even knowing it, have been turning a blind eye, without even knowing what we do and what we've been privy to. Me, as being a part Asian kid that was a white Asian mix, never had to deal with the shit that a lot of these young black youth and other people had to deal with. I mean, I had to deal with my own particular shit, but it was a fraction, not even a fraction. I'm not a good mathematician to decipher the small bits of what I felt as being the awkward kid that coming into a suburb area, being the kid that looked different, felt, as opposed to some of these other people and their everyday lives that just don't go away.
Right.
So by the fact of me not realizing that a lot of what I don't have to pay attention to, by me not paying attention to, is in a way doing a disservice to the fact of the people that are still being oppressed by these certain things. So me as a human, and as a man, and as a person that can learn, those are the kind of things that I want to take from this, to try to make sure that when I see injustice, when I see things happening that I should be paying better attention to, that is my job, to make sure that I am looking and trying to be aware at those things. And this is one of the things that this is, I think, proven and shown, and all of us have to better look at, is by turning a blind eye, you're not doing anybody a service. You're actually doing a disservice by taking the status quo and by not paying attention to the ills that are happening out there. And those are the kind of things that I will try to be better, and will look to try to see how I can help and be a better partner to help other people along the way.
Well said, man. Much respected, dude. It's funny, like I said, not to belabor this any longer, it has to go, but we don't try to hide things from my son. He just turned 8 in May, but we've always been very open to him about letting him see what's going on in the world and understanding, but trying to explain to an 8-year-old the plight of black people in this country and why they're treated differently or how they're treated differently. It's so embarrassing to just explain that, like, this is what our society has done, and this is how it's handled. Sometimes it's like, Jesus Christ, we're idiots.
Well, especially if he's been lucky enough to not have seen it, and part of that will come from the environment and from the people. I think
kids don't know.
Kids don't know, man. They're still fucking great. They're still pure.
So shout out, man. I love the explanation that I've seen on social media and stuff. The whole Black Lives Matter, and people get pissed off about that. I love it. It's like, look, we're not saying all lives don't matter. They all matter. But right now, black people need help. Right now, the black ones are the one that need help. You know what I'm saying? So shout out. So, All right, well said. Thank you for stopping us down and doing that, because it has to be addressed. But let's move on to the fights. Let's get back to what we said.
People in their underwear.
Get back to people in underwear in a cage, man. All right, so let's get into this main event. By the way, I will say, I got back on the phone to my office. I've been relocating my office and redesigning my office. And
I'm looking forward to see some pictures. You should show some Patreon pictures.
Oh, I'll share it to Patreon first.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll share it to Patreon first.
Well, share to me first, and then Patreon.
I'm excited because I've really been working on it. My wife's been helping me with some ideas, and we're setting it up. And I've almost got done, but I've got all my equipment set back up. I had broken everything down because I had to relocate it, and I have it set back up. So now I can do high-quality phone interviews again, where it's you're getting nice audio, and we'll share a couple of those in a minute. But I'm saying that because I did a couple interviews. I did 5 interviews actually yesterday, Wednesday, of fighters on this card, And, man, you know how I've been saying that, like, I don't feel like it's fight week. I don't feel like I'm getting fight.
Right.
That helped me a lot. I felt like I got the experience. It's not quite as much as –
it's not like going to the hotel and setting up in the room and getting it.
It's not. But
I miss those.
It's better than virtual media day. No disrespect to virtual media day.
Yeah.
The UFC is doing their best to help us out there. But, man,
it's certainly better than nothing.
It's certainly better than nothing. So I got a little opportunity. So I had a chance to talk first to Amanda Nunes. Man, Amanda, as you would expect, high energy. Of course, her wife, Nina Ansaroff, is pregnant right now. They're going to have a child later this year. They're super excited about that.
Yeah, soon, right?
Yeah.
She's like 6 months?
Yeah,
she's
next couple of months. It was great. Amanda I was like, are you nervous? It was so great to hear her talk. She's like, I would be scared if I didn't know that we had planned all this. And she's like, once I had these big fights, and she's like, once I had money in the bank, she's like, my bank account was right. She's like, I have enough money to pay for this kid's college already. She's like, I never have to rely on anybody ever again.
That's awesome.
She said, we are financially set. And now I feel ready to bring somebody in this world. And she's super excited about it.
They did it the right way. Because, a lot of people are like, oh, man, we had the kid. Now we're like, oh, shit, how are we ever going to plan for college? How are we going to do this?
She literally said, she's like, I wanted to make sure I had the scholarship paid when the baby was born.
That's awesome.
And she's like, and I have that. She's like, I have all that done.
Well,
so
it's cool, though.
It's cool to hear how
she's going to try to go. Because scholarships can change depending on where
the price can change. But it was cool to hear her talk about her family. But then I also asked her about her fighting career, because she's not old by any stretch of the imagination. But she's been so dominant. I mean, she's just 32 right now. In fact, I think she just turned 32, if I remember right, which means she could have several years. But I kind of wondered if, the growing family, and then the fact that she doesn't really have like these name challengers, would kind of like, I don't want to say demotivate her, but just not get excited, not get up. And it was so cool to hear her. She's like, no, she's like, I live for this stuff. She's like, I love nothing better in life than fighting, than training, the feeling of fight week, the momentum that it gives me. She's like, and I want to keep doing this. I'm like, what do you want to accomplish? She's like, I just want to keep winning. She's like, I want to win over and over and over. She's like, the next names that come up, I want that person. The next name, she's like, Felicia Spencer. People, oh, I don't know. She's like, I know who she is. She's tough, and I'm not. She's like, rule number 1 in my book: do not underestimate anyone. And I love to hear that attitude for her, because I did wonder. Again, you're focused on your family now. You've dominated. Nobody even argues anymore if she's the women's GOAT. It's not like one of the greatest of all time. It's just like, she's the women's GOAT. Everybody says that. And she had a great quote about that too. And there's a piece on MMA Junkie. It's funny because I kind of stopped doing phone interviews, because now everything's so much about video. But honestly, I got into the sport to write, and so I actually wrote like 4 or 5 kind of
don't you dare, John.
Not long
video.
pieces. I know, yeah,
video.
you're like,
don't
video, bro. Don't ruin the video team. But I actually wrote some longer pieces this week than I have in a long time, just because I got on these phoners. But yeah, just her quotes about where she is and what she's doing and that sort of thing. It just it got me kind of I feel like she's still inspired. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like she still wants to do things.
Imagine too, because every fighter that we've seen after they've had a kid is just literally fighter 2.0, because they're so jazzed up to support that kid. I mean, that's when the whole Dad Cerrone became a thing. Like, every fighter that we know of, once they become a parent, if they weren't as enthused, but now they have a reason to fight, it's like it completely just switches them around. Right. So, like, if she's already that still jazzed and dangerous now, I can only imagine what Mom Nunes is going to be. I'm
telling you, she's fired up. We said that the one thing that I've missed through this process is not getting that visual interaction and that body language. And I didn't get that. But still, I had a good 10 minutes with her on the phone, just one-on-one conversation, and, man, you could hear the enthusiasm in her voice. Of course, not cutting down to 135, that definitely makes her a happier person.
True.
But she feels like she's in really, really good spirits and really excited for this. Interesting to note, it's interesting to me. Probably some people won't care. But Amanda's been rocking 2 different belts this whole time, right? Because she's got the 145 belt is still the old UFC belt.
Oh yeah.
So if she wins, she'll have the matching set now. She won't have the.
I like that old belt. I know we've said that before.
It is good.
I like the old belt. Like,
the new one has grown on me.
You're right. It has grown. It definitely has that more like techno edgy sort of.
Yeah. At first, it felt too much. I'm like, what is this, Tron or something? Like, the hell is this thing?
It was very Tron. It was very hard edge.
I just
or whatever.
really dated myself there, didn't I?
I love Tron though. So I was just inside. I was like, dude, bro, that was like my favorite
people listening to this going, what is he talking about?
Like, which Tron? They probably only know like the new Tron. They didn't even know the old Tron.
See, I didn't even stay sci-fi. I even forgot there was a new Tron. See, I'm not even talking about new Tron. I'm talking about old Tron. That's how old I am.
Oh, goodness.
All right.
Yeah, we totally dated ourselves.
Anyway, yeah, super old. All right, so Amanda Nunes, listen, I picked her in this fight. She's the GOAT. But I will say this. Had a chance to speak to Felicia Spencer as well. And, yeah, she's got a great attitude. I'll tell you what. Let's just let her say her words first. You can hear from Felicia Spencer first, and then we'll talk a little bit about my thoughts on this fight after that. So here is the Phenom, Felicia Spencer. Felicia, I appreciate the time.
Of course.
So give me the feel right now. I mean, UFC title fight just a couple days away. What's the emotion? What's the energy? What's the feel for you right now?
I'm just every day I wake up and I'm like, man, I wish it was fight day. Like I'm just so excited to get in there and experience it all. Like the cage, facing Amanda, fighting and winning. I just am so excited to do it.
No question. I mean, obviously your division doesn't have the most number of athletes in it, but I mean, you're just a year in and you're fighting for the title in the UFC. Did you have an idea that, you could transition this fast from coming into the UFC to fighting for the title?
I had a feeling, that things would move quickly. I believed in myself and my abilities to take me there, and it sure did move quick, right from the start, going to win my first fight and then being able to have a huge opportunity right after that, and then winning my next fight. Yeah, it's definitely, I guess, been pretty quick. But I never doubted that it would happen quickly. Especially with this division, like you said, I knew I would get straight to the top of it.
Yeah,
fast as I could.
You kind of touched on the Cyborg fight a little bit there. I mean, obviously, a lot of people gave you a ton of respect for that fight. But I know you came to win. But did you take lessons out of that? I mean, that was a big opponent, a big name, that sort of thing. I mean, did you take anything out of that that's helped you kind of get where you are now?
For sure. I mean, I think every experience, good or bad, or in between, is gonna have a part of where you are right at the moment. So being able to kind of just look back and just know that everything I thought about myself was true, like that I would stand in front of her and that I honestly didn't feel any kind of like fear. I mentioned where some people say that her opponents are beat before they even get in front of her, that mentally they're just already beaten. And for me, I was 100% confident the whole time, even at the end of the third round, any moment of the fight, I know I can win. Like I had that drive to win at every moment. So, not that I doubted I would have that feeling, but it was nice to like prove it to yourself sometimes, that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do have that drive to win. I know I can win any fight at any moment. So yeah, it definitely gives me, just gives me something to draw on, just like you said, experience. It's just experience and adapting. I feel like I'm even better now than I used to be at just adapting to situations and finding my moment. I'm going to find my moment in this fight.
That's awesome. Well, obviously everybody's adapting right now with this strange world that we're living in. But talk about your preparation. I mean, this pandemic MMA training. How much did it impact what you're doing? I mean, you're getting ready for obviously the biggest fight of your life, a UFC title fight. Were there added challenges, or how did the preparation go for you?
Yeah, we just obviously everything was a little different. We had to find like a new normal, a new rhythm, and basically we just looked at what do I need out of camp. And found a way to make it happen. I had a couple people around me I was able to work with. We had we found a place to train, different places than usual, less people involved, obviously, which that would be the only thing I think would be, that was kind of missed, is like just having more looks and more bodies. But honestly, the people that I picked, that I had with me to train, I think were perfectly suited for me to train for Amanda Nunes, which is that's really the focus, right? Like most of the time I'm in fight camp and I have people around me who are also in fight camp, and we're all training together to help each other. And it was almost like a very selfish feeling that I felt like, but it felt good. Like everything that was happening was because of me and my fight, and it was all about Amanda Nunes. So that was a little different, but I think it actually worked out pretty good. I feel so good about what we did. everything, all of our attention was on Amanda Nunes every moment of training. So that was different, but an unexpected surprise, I think. Like, we all feel really good about training.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talk about, how you get ready for an Amanda Nunes. I mean, I think widely considered the greatest of all time in the women's division. Probably does have a little bit of an aura about her, the same way as Cyborg did. So how do you game plan for somebody like that? I mean, can you look at the greatest of all time and say, I see I see weaknesses here, or is it more so about like just having yourself as sharp as possible? What's the proper approach, you think?
I always say there's another human being in front of me, and I don't look at like her highlights or her lowlights as anything that's going to like tell the story of her skill set or what I'm going to see on that night. I think every accomplishment that she's had is real. She found a way to win so many fights, and a lot of them very impressively. But again, it's another fight. It's someone that she's never faced before. I'm different. I know I'm different. I know what I bring to the table. It's going to feel different for her. And I'm going to be able to find a way to win. Like I said, I adapt in every situation, and I doubt that it would be a first round as much as I would love it to be a first round finish and be done with this. I can see myself finishing this fight before that 5 rounds is up. I think it's going to be a lot of grind, a lot of pressure, and I'm just so excited to feel that in the fight. I'm excited to feel that grind and to know that I'm ready to go for 10 rounds. That I'm going to keep going, and I'm just going to wait for that moment where I can win.
I don't know if you thought about it, but are you considering that you might have to fight her twice? I mean, you beat her on Saturday night. She's been a dominant champion. Do you think an instant rematch would be warranted for somebody with her resume? You think maybe you're going to have to beat her twice in a row?
I think it would be warranted. I am not confident that she would want to, with what her goals are in her career. I don't know, but all I ask is that my first title defense is in Canada. That'd be cool.
That would be good to be anywhere. We got to travel again, man.
Yeah, well, I imagine that she's got some stuff going on with a growing family here coming up, so I doubt she'd want to fight real soon. So there might be a little bit of time in between. Who knows? I'm not worried about what's happening after the fight too much, though. So we'll take it as it comes.
No doubt.
We can't plan on anything right now. What kind of plans can we make at the end of the year right now? Like everything's different every day.
That is so true. Well, listen, I mean, obviously you know that you're the underdog coming in. I mean, Amanda does have a reputation, but I know you plan on shocking the world. So what do we see? What are we going to see on Saturday night? You said first round might be tough, but you're not ruling it out. What kind of fight are we going to see on Saturday?
You're just going to see a new version of me, a new version of the Phenom. I'm putting things together differently. I'm so confident. I mean, there's going to be, I'm sure, a lot of similar things that people have seen, with my style and stuff, but it's going to be a gritty fight, and you're going to see my hands raised at the end of it.
I love it. I appreciate the time, and definitely looking forward to it this weekend.
Well, no problem. We'll talk with you guys, so thanks for your time also.
Thank you. All right, so that was Felicia Spencer. Listen, man, the confidence there is real. I like the fact, that she had that experience with Cyborg. The fact that, now granted, it didn't come out her way, but I think she gained a lot of respect in that fight. And, she's faced that kind of, the demon, so to speak, the one that you're like, oh, man, I don't know. And she said, look, I came out of it and proved to myself that I am who I thought I was. I'm not going to be scared in these situations. And I don't think she's going to be overwhelmed by the moment. I like the excitement out of her. And I will say there's some things that she does that could cause Amanda Nunes some problems. I mean, I think that, Felicia Spencer does have some tricky striking. She started out in a traditional karate base, so she's got some, kind of odd-timed and movements at times. But I do not think the idea of standing toe-to-toe with Amanda Nunes and swinging until you see who falls goes well for anybody. So I don't think she'll do that. No. So, I mean, she's definitely going to want to get inside. She's going to want to put this against the fence. She's going to want to try to get it to the ground. Amanda Nunes certainly no joke on the ground as well. So it's not that if she gets it down that Amanda Nunes is a fish out of water. But I think she served better to try to take this fight into the clinch or to have it on the floor. I like Felicia Spencer. I do believe that maybe at one point she can be a UFC champion. I think there's real skills there.
Yep.
If you weren't watching her Invicta career, you might not have necessarily had a chance to see it in her UFC run so soon. But I can't pick against Amanda Nunes.
That's it. I mean, like, as much as I will give much props and respect to Felicia, because what she was able to do against Cyborg was just fantastic. I will admit and I will say I'm man enough to say I didn't give her any chance in that
fight. A lot of people didn't.
And she was amazing. Her resilience. She took everything that Cyborg gave and she made it to the end of the fight. And after that point, I said I wouldn't doubt her heart by any means. And she's a talented fighter. But man, Amanda Nunes is the GOAT. Mm-hmm. It's hard to pick against Amanda, especially right now. But I'm looking forward to that fight, and I'm at this point, I won't count Felicia out because after what I saw last time, there's always a chance. And I thought, to be honest, Amanda didn't look flawless in her last performance.
Correct.
So you never know. If I had to put money down, I would put my money on Nunes just for the fact that every fighter has some of these fights here and there where they don't look 100% or they don't have these stellar performances that we're used to see. But this could be one of those ones where it's back up on the uptrend.
And listen, smaller cage does mean less room that Felicia Spencer has to chase things down, to try to cut distance. I mean, it does make clinches more frequent. So
and Amanda moves forward. She does such a good job of cutting off the cage and just dictating the pace. I mean, Felicia's going to be on the back foot the whole time. I mean, I don't see a point in this fight, especially in a smaller cage, of Amanda just sort of like going, I'm like, all right, let's see what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Bring it to me. Let's see what you got. It's not going to happen like that.
She's aggressive, and she's found a way to still pace herself while being aggressive.
Yeah.
So, listen, I think Felicia Spencer deserves more respect and credit than she's probably getting, but ultimately, at the end of the day, Amanda Nunes is certainly my pick. Now, by the way, I should say if you like what you're hearing, and why wouldn't you? Why would you not like what you're hearing? Do us a favor. Make sure that wherever you listen to a podcast, for me, it's Apple Podcast, that you log in. You leave us a review if you can. 5 stars helps us out. A little bit of feedback even if you want to leave us some comments, that sort of thing. We appreciate it. I mean, we'll take constructive criticism, but positive feedback is definitely appreciated. So make sure you do that. That helps us out. And then, of course, if you want to take it to the next level, head on over to patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow and join there. For as little as $3 a month, you can have full access to all of our content over there, including the and a half post-fight shows that are coming up each and every week because it seems like we're going to have fights each and every damn week. I'm hoping even once we get to Fight Island, I'll be able to make it out there. Don't know yet. Still don't know where the damn thing is, but we'll have shows.
It's supposed to be, what did Dana say, fucking expensive?
Oh, yeah. Well, so hopefully we'll have shows one way. We'll definitely have shows one way or the other, but I'm just hoping I can actually do them on site. Hopefully I can get over there and get you some coverage. But
get you a nice little bikini or something for it.
I don't know about that. But shout out to Paul. Shout out to Eric Carvett. They both signed up this past week.
Thank you, fellas.
Like I said, as little as $3 a month. We have some higher tiers as well that come with a couple of added benefits there, where you can basically just tell us what to do.
Handies.
Once you start supporting us, you're just
after enough beers, we just give out handies to the top tier.
No promises there. But the cold coffee's willing to put it in
catch me on the right day.
Catch me on the right day. All right, listen. Also, speaking of taking to the next level, how about DraftKings? The UFC's trying to take it to the next level, and DraftKings is right there alongside them, and they're trying to take you to the next level as well. I mean, UFC 249, it was great. It was great. It felt good to be back to live sports, but that was just a primer. Now we're back home. We're in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, for UFC 250. And DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, is putting you in the center of the action with a free shot at $1 million
top prize
with your first deposit. Look, if you haven't tried it yet, Fantasy MMA is easy to play. Just pick 6 fighters, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for advances, takedowns, more. There's no better way to put your MMA knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million.
That's a lot of dollars.
Nothing makes a UFC event more exciting than when you have skin in the game with DraftKings, and for a limited time. And I really like this offer because you know how whenever you sign up for something new, they hook you up. You get your free iPhone.
You get a little something.
You get your Sunday ticket for free. They always hook you up, right?
Ooh,
but if you're the chump that's just been around for 5 years, they're like, bro, we don't care about you. You're already a customer. DraftKings not doing that. For a limited time, DraftKings is offering both new and existing users a deposit bonus of up to $500. So what you do, you just download the DraftKings app now and use the promo code, and this is important. Make sure you use the promo code.
What's that code?
Frosty.
Oh.
In honor of the Frosty beverages that we're having right now on this lovely MMA Roadshow. And you'll get a free shot at the $1 million top prize with your first deposit. That's promo code
Frosty
to get a free shot at $1 million with your first deposit. Only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Deposit bonus requires a 25 times playthrough. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Dude, DraftKings is killing it right now.
Trying to give away $1 million, dude.
They are,
Get
man.
Your $1 million.
Now, the one thing I will say about DraftKings, depending on the state you live in, where if you're in a state like us that has a bazillion casinos,
right,
I cannot play.
Yes.
So there are restrictions. So don't get upset if your state is one of those, because what you should do is move your ass to a state that allows you to play DraftKings.
I was gonna say,
because it's $1 million motherfucking dollars.
If your mom's got an address somewhere else, just shoot. Speaking of moms are always there to help out.
Hey, that's some serious tip right there.
Use your mom's address.
Use your mom's address.
Hashtag just saying. All right, co-main event: Rafael Assunção versus Cody Garbrandt. This is where I get excited about this card. Not that I don't love the title fight, I do, but the clarity that we're going to get in the bantamweight division, I think, is key. Rafael Assunção versus Cody Garbrandt. Man, this is a really, really big fight. Cody Garbrandt, to me, it's all about Cody Garbrandt. I mean, I love Rafael Assunção. Man, the guy has been at the top of the division for years. Overlooked a lot, I think, because he's not a trash talker. He's not willing to get out there and go crazy on social media. He's very an even-tempered, kind of calm guy in interviews. He's just not that guy. And this is definitely, the entertainment era, thanks to Conor McGregor and that the like. Meanwhile, Cody Garbrandt, when he is executing, is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, his win over Dominic Cruz back in 2016, we're talking about one of the greatest performances of all time. I mean, that championship fight, you looked at that guy and thought, nobody can touch this guy, man. The speed, the power, the execution, the movement. But he struggled since then, man. He's had knockouts. He's had injuries to deal with. He's had just all these things, and he's mentally reinventing himself. He went out to New Jersey to train with the crew out there, Mark Henry and that crew, to try to get a different look. Man, just a big moment for Cody Garbrandt, who, when he's firing on all cylinders, and if he is, reinvented, and if he is able to rebuild himself, I mean, the star quality is there. Obviously,
that's a given.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he's got the look, right, man? Yep. He's a handsome guy with the tattoos, marketable as hell. Plus, his fighting style is just super fun. It's not like he's oh man, that guy's a good-looking guy with tattoos, and he literally just lays on people for 25 minutes. You know what I mean?
That doesn't happen.
He goes out there and just bangs as well. But this is no joke. This is no kind of, hey, we'll give you a little warm-up fight here to try to get you back in there. This is Rafael Assunção, who's a stiff test.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued by this because, again, Cody Garbrandt, when he's executing, is as good as anybody in the world, and he's a slight favorite in this fight. But I mean, Rafael Assunção is I think,
really?
I know. Which I think Rafael Assunção is just criminally underrated throughout his career. Now, it's not a big look. It's not a big line. I think it's -140 is what
that's got to be the popularity factor swinging it. That's got to be, and that's just a proven point to what you're saying. Cody is every bit as marketable as anything out there. Good looking dude. He's fit. He brings the swag. I mean, he brings the attitude. Whereas Rafael's just, he's been doing everything he has needed to do. And I mean, they're close in ranking, so I could see where they could be close in the odds. But I'm just really surprised that.
I think there's some emotion in that line. I think people know that people like Cody Garbrandt and want to put some money on.
That's
it.
You
know what I mean?
I mean, that's what ultimately when it comes down to putting money down. I think a lot of people. They feel good about the fact if they just know that they played a little money on the guy that guy that they like, their guy, and that's got to be why it's like that.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised by that.
So that's a big one. And then I'll tell you what, Corey Sandhagen versus Aljamain Sterling. I'll be honest with you, I really feel like Sandhagen Sterling should have been the co-main event. As much as Asuncion and Garbrandt, especially Garbrandt as a former champion, I get it, deserves that respect.
That's it. That's got to be the point.
Sandhagen Sterling should have been the co-main event. I think this is at worst a number one contender fight. I did talk to Aljamain yesterday as well, and he said, listen, I really think this should have been the title fight. He's like, no disrespect to Aldo and Jan.
Yeah.
But I think this should have been the title fight. And I see
his point.
He actually was kind of joking. He's like, to me, it is a title fight. He's like, I'm gonna go out there on June 6th and I'm gonna win that belt, that imaginary belt.
Yeah.
And I was like, good for you. He's got a good attitude as well, man. He's Aljamain's in a good spot. Got through the COVID-19 scare with his girl. Won't have his longtime cornerman Ray Longo out here, but still feels comfortable. Alec Quintas in his corner and feels comfortable with the crew around him. But this is a big fight, man. Aljamain, kind of made it to the top of the mountaintop before, had a little downturn. Meanwhile, Corey Sandhagen, this dude's been perfect since he got to the UFC. This is a great fight, and I don't disagree that it could have been a number one contender. I thought Sterling Jan would have been the title fight.
A lot of people,
but this has big implications.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that was the fight that should have been made. And just how when we go back and when we name and when we do a lot of lower thirds, which is the graphic, the title we put on fighters, once somebody has reached a title level and they've won a title, that doesn't ever go away. So we always put that on there. So when looking at for who is the co-main and who is not the co-main, I can see that respect level given where I could see if somebody was off to the side and like, whoa, that guy was a title holder. Why is he not, the co-main, or why is he not whatever? So I could see where maybe that slightly carried some weight within probably the UFC matchmakers when they're putting the lineup. But in terms of what really, especially if you just look at the rankings, what makes more sense as for the guys that were really the title contenders and who were in that immediate sort of group of guys that were possibly going to get the title shot, it was Sandhagen and Aljo. Easy.
I think so too. And listen, I mean,
I don't mind them. I don't mind the co-main event because I like both guys. I'm a homer for Ohio guy, even though I didn't pick him this time.
You didn't pick Cody?
No, and I still kind of want to go back and switch it because I feel like a jackass anytime I don't pick an Ohio guy. But Asuncio's just fighting on another level, and just the time away right now for Garbrandt, I just feel like Asuncio's firing on more cylinders right now, that I think he'll come in as a more finely tuned individual, and that's the only reason I went that way, because I lose a lot of fights when I pick by being a homer.
Of course.
And I'm trying to get back up towards the top of this.
You want to win this thing.
This junky rankings,
again,
man.
Win it again.
I know I got close even this last time, but Simon edged me out. But I'm falling way behind, so I don't have no room to homer.
Yeah,
anymore.
And we don't have as many fights right now, so we don't have as many picks to kind of make up room. Well, here's what I say is that another reason I would say put Sandhagen Sterling is in the co-main event is because I do believe the winner of that should be in line for a title shot, and if that's the case, you're going to want to give him that rub. But it does make me wonder if there's any way. I mean, surely Cody with a win couldn't jump in line, right? And I'm not trying to disrespect him.
It would have to be.
He should not be able to jump in line. Now,
he should not, but if that's the same thing I said about Durinho.
Garbrandt Aldo or Garbrandt Jan, both of those stylistically would be stunning.
Those would be fun.
But I don't think he's jumping. I'm not disrespecting him. I'm just saying you can't look away from what Sandhagen and Sterling have both accomplished.
But I think it's also they have proven themselves, like this is for sure an entertainment company. They will put the biggest, most eyeball demanding fight on there.
Right.
Just like I said last time when I was like, if Burns has an outstanding performance, watch, he's going to get that title shot. And there's quite the possibility that he could get that shot. I think with Cody and with the following that he has, he would literally have to come out there and have the performance of his life, and put on just a stellar dominating. And if Sandhagen and Aljo goes out there and turns out to be an absolute stinker of a fight, he could easily jump over them just for the fact of he could ride that momentum. We've seen Dana do it before. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not fair. But if he comes out there,
don't care.
But they don't care. That's it. That's what we've learned, is that they don't care about those rankings. Even though these are two individuals that most people thought should be in for the title fight, if they go out there and put on a boring fight and both of them give too much respect to each other and they never lay it on the line, and it's just a bunch of running around the cage because they're too they're too weary to throw some strikes, and Cody goes out there and just starches a Sun Tzu, Cody can easily get that nod because he's not that far away from the top.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Because it shouldn't be that way.
But it could happen.
But it could happen.
All right, Neil Magny versus Anthony Rocco Martin. I like this fight a lot, too. I like both these guys. I mean, Neil Magny, obviously one of the nicest guys in the sport. I mean, we say that about a lot of people, but soft-spoken, super nice, great guy. But Anthony Rocco Martin, man, Rocco is a guy that I have a soft spot for Rocco, man. I think that he feels disrespected a lot of times, and he's put together a very impressive win streak now. I think he's 5-1 his last 6 with the only loss to Damian Maia, which wasn't necessarily a bad performance. I think Rocco's a slight underdog in this, and I think he can make it a rough night for Neil Magny, man. I think he can make it kind of ugly and just making Neil Magny dig underhooks over and over and fighting off again. We're talking about that small cage, so less room for Neil to back up and use that big range.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, man. I have a soft spot for Rocco, and I love Neil Magny too. But I don't know, man. I see Rocco perhaps being able to make this kind of a rough one. Not necessarily. He's not necessarily going to deliver the most beautiful performance of all time, but kind of making this a dirty, ugly fight and making it tough for Neil Magny.
I agree, and he's got a lot of great cardio. He's got power. I mean, he's no Leach, and I thought Leach gave. I was really surprised at how well Magny did in that fight. It looked like Magny 2.0.
He did look great.
He looked so good, and I picked Leach that fight, and it hurt because I love Magny. He's always been great. I love that he's a former serviceman as well. So I got a lot of respect for him there, but. Magny, when he is on, is just super, super tough, and Rocco has always outshined the credit of what I've given him. I know I picked him a couple times. There's been a couple times I haven't because I didn't think he had what it took, and he always rose to the occasion. And this is one of those kind of fights where I anticipate that he's going to rise to the occasion. It just depends on what Neil shows up, because Neil he's been maybe recently more a little spotty. He hasn't been as consistent in his performances, whereas I think Rocco's been a little bit more consistent in what that you're going to get. I just don't know if Magny took Leach's power, and Leach has a lot more power. Well, not a lot more power. I think he's more powerful than what Rocco is.
I think so too.
I think just with the pressure of what Rocco's going to be bringing, and he's like a once you turn that faucet on, he just keeps pouring it on, and that's what I think eventually outweighs a guy, and that could be very, very bad for Neil, because Neil, if he gets put up against the wall and he just starts getting sort of overrun, he has this moment where he just sort of shuts down. He needs that length. He needs a little distance. And if Anthony keeps putting it on him and just sort of smothers him, the fight could easily go in his direction. It just depends on how it sort of plays out. If Rocco can get in there and make it dirty, get it close, keep it clinch, he's going to get the win.
I agree. And
but
if he can't, he'll get pieced up with just 100 jabs, and
that's
just
it.
Like
that's it. And they say everything's it's a game of inches, or it's when it comes to this particular sport, it's that simple sometimes, where if a guy's able to keep the distance and stay in his range and do his thing, he's gonna do it. But who knows? I mean, Leach tried to clinch up with Magny as well, and Magny was able to do okay with it. But man, that's a tough one. But you're right, man. There's two guys that are just, both guys are just super, super nice guys, and you don't like to pick against either one. But was this one of the ones we had to pick?
Yeah.
I can't remember who I picked.
Well, I guess you'll find out when they publish on Friday.
I know. I'm like, Should I just go back and redo all my picks? Because I'm such a homer. I like Magny a lot. I think I did pick Magny.
Your service ties.
I'm such a service homer. If you've served 1 month in the military and then you become a fighter, I'm still gonna pick you. Even if you go,
no matter what,
I'm gonna probably pick you. But yeah, I think I picked Magny in this because partially just think if he rides the momentum of what he did that last fight, I would put him up against anybody in the division.
Yeah.
But that was he looked absolutely perfect in that fight, and he didn't look so great in the fight before that. It's the consistency, if he can be consistent and carry in and do whatever he did, and who knows right now because of the whole training of this COVID environment.
Oh.
How can anybody have any bit of consistency in what has been happening?
Well, it's so true. Obviously we talk about fights, but we're not professional handicappers. I mean, I don't play any money on the fights at all, just because I feel like it changes the way I look at fights. We've talked about it time and time, occasionally before. Like
that's why you can play DraftKings, though.
That you can play DraftKings.
# Frosty. Use that code Frosty.
There's nothing. I mean, there's nothing that says journalists can't bet on fights. But I don't, because I feel like it makes me look at them differently, and so therefore I'm
just because you suck. You lose
that too, yeah, totally. But no, that's why I don't. So anyway, but the reason I say that is that I don't feel good for handicappers right now. I feel bad for them that are trying to
super tough.
They want to minimize the variables as much as they can, and man, the variables of how training is in a COVID-19 environment has to be hard to handicap.
Those people are they're so. I don't know how they do what they do. Handicappers are so good, and especially the ones that work with the major casinos. They might as well be fortune tellers. They are so good. I'm so amazed at how close the lines are on most of the major sporting events when it comes to like points and the spread and stuff. They don't miss that often, But it's just the freaking nature of those people. So in this type of environment, you got to imagine. I mean, I'd be like sneaking in by fighters' houses or something, peeking in the windows or something if you're like the top guys or something. Because how do you do what you do, especially in something like this? Because you can't call up a gym. You can't ask people that go to the gym and say, hey, how's so-and-so look? Because it's all behind closed doors. It's all done in people's houses. It's like 4 or 5 people max.
I give a shout out to my boy on Twitter. He's at Gamblue. It's gamblue.com.
Okay.
He's based in Phoenix, Arizona. He's a sports handicapper.
Yeah.
And he's always reaching out to me for like a little bit of information here.
So you got to do.
He does. He's always mining it. And I love this too. I wanted to pull up his Twitter account to make sure I had the right Twitter account. It's GAMBLOU, Gamblue. But his latest tweet says, "My job is not to critique fight cards; it's to bet into them." # profitable sports gaming. I love it.
That's it. I mean, they're on a different. They're looking at a lot of things that we don't think about. But yeah, handicappers, man, what a tough gig because one, you have people follow you, and you pick a lot wrong. People are gonna hate you because people are putting their money. But man, what a tough gig that is.
No doubt. All right, let's talk about the fight that kicks off the main card. Sean O'Malley. The Sugar Show is back against Eddie Wineland, the former WC champ. I love this matchup for a lot of different reasons. I did have a chance to get Sean O'Malley on the phone, so let's do this. Let's play a little audio of my conversation with Sean O'Malley, and then we'll talk about this fight. Here is the Sugar Show himself.
What's up, John?
What's going on, man? How you doing, brother?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Let's just get into it, brother. I mean, man, you fought just 3 months ago, but it feels like an entirely different world in the past 3 months. Give me the idea of what you've been up to, man. What's life been like for you since that last fight?
As far as my daily schedule, nothing changed. I game, I train, and I chill. Nothing in my reality was different. I was super focused on improving after that last fight. I just got to get better. I knew I was going to fight probably June because that's kind of what I told the UFC I wanted to do, and I knew Dana was getting those fights going, so I plan on fighting in June. I've been ready to go for a while.
You talked about getting better. I mean, that last performance was phenomenal, man. I mean, did you take criticism of that? I mean, do you look at that and see, gosh, that I can do better than that?
No, as far as the performance, I don't think it could have really went any better. But I know I still need to improve. I want to be world champ. I don't want to just win a couple fights, lose some fights, win. I want to keep winning. I believe I can keep winning and fighting better guys. And you're never not going to be able to improve. So I would just back to the drawing board and getting better.
You said, like you said, quick turnaround here. You got back quickly. Why'd you want to fight again so soon? I mean, is it a financial thing, like making up for the time you lost, or is it something different? Why fight so frequently?
No, I can live the finance. I'm still waiting for my $50,000 to hit from that last fight, so I'm gonna have 2 of them on the way. No financial. I'm trying to think. If we didn't have the opportunity to fight for as much money as we do, I'd still be fighting. I love fighting. It's my passion. So to be able to fight, if you look at I've had over 30 fights since I was 16 years old, whether kickboxing, boxing, or MMA, amateur or pro. I've had over 30 fights, and I'm used to fighting every couple of months. That's just how my entire career has been. Besides those 2 years that I didn't get to, so being able to fight every couple of months is ideal for me.
That's awesome. So you get Eddie Wineland, man, a crafty veteran, former WEC champ. What'd you think when they brought this name? Were you excited for this one, or what'd you think about the matchup?
I definitely knew who he was. I knew the tattoos and getting kicked in the head by Brow. I didn't know too much about him, so I went and watched a little bit of a fight I think he had with Frankie Saenz, and I watched about 2 minutes of it, and I just saw myself knocking him out. So it was an easy yes.
That's great. Stylistically, it does seem like it'd be right up your alley, man. I mean, it could be a fun fight. Are you thinking it's going to be a fun fight, or it sounds like you think you could just go in and dominate him pretty quick?
I'm expecting it to be, I'm ready to go to war. I'm ready to fight for 15 minutes. But something, I have a feeling like I had when I fought David Nuzzo that a crazy knockout's coming. I feel like this is just a perfect opportunity to really make some noise, and I have a ton of finishes that I haven't got a show yet, so I'm excited. I think I'm going to get in there and get the job done.
That's awesome. It's a big card for the bantamweight division, right, man? A lot of high profile matchups on here. Were you hoping for some of those bigger names or some of those higher ranked names? I mean, I know it's still early in your career, but I mean, were you hoping for a part of a Sandhagen or a Sterling or a Sunsao, a Garbrandt? I mean, were you hoping to be part of one of those big fights?
No, not at all. This is a perfect fight for me. This is a perfect fight for me. I didn't think about that at all. Actually, I think I still gotta, beat some guys before I get those bigger names. But I think after Eddie, maybe fight another guy that's not super high ranked, and then I feel like I'm right up there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, obviously you got a lot of attention around you as well. So, I mean, now that you are back, I mean, are you looking at those rankings? I mean, do you feel like you should be on there? I think it's kind of surprising your name's not in there, right? I mean, do you feel like a push for the rankings is what's next for you?
Yeah, I don't think the rankings really make too much sense, and I don't think they're really that big of a deal. Whether I'm ranked 15, 14, 8, they don't really always matter. So I think with my performances that I'm going to continue to have and the following that I'm continuing to grow, that says more than a ranking.
Yeah, it really does. It's funny, man. I mean, I feel like you get called out by everybody in the damn division. They want a piece of you.
Yeah.
When you hear your name come up like that, what do you think? I mean, does it get you excited? Does it piss you off that they're calling for you? Do you appreciate it because it means you got that attention? Like, what goes through your mind when you hear somebody calling you out?
Yeah, I definitely don't take anything personal, because I like talking shit too. But when I'm talking shit about someone, it's not personal at all. It's part of the entertainment. It's part of the game. It's part of the fun. So when someone calls me out or says something, I don't take it personal. But if I couldn't get my own a following, I would definitely call someone out that knows how to and that's doing it right. So I don't blame them for calling me out. It's just it's just part of the game.
Yeah. Is it special for you to have your brother Chase Hooper on the card? Is that big for the family?
Yeah, Chase, he's a good kid. I like Chase a lot.
No doubt. He's kind of biting your style a little bit, though. Are you going to sign off on him? Is that okay that he bites your style a little?
What do you mean?
Well, he's got the hair. He's got the hair game that he's kind of trying to copy off you, and I don't know. I feel like he's trying to use some of your energy, man.
I'm sure he is. I don't mind it. He's a good kid. I like him. I like him a lot, and he's 20 years. He's young. He's a young kid, and he's doing what he needs to do in the sport. And no, I like that kid a lot.
Cool, man. So you got the quick turnaround here. It worked out for you, even with everything that's going on. Give me the idea moving forward. I mean, do you think you could just keep rattling these things off like every 3 months? Is that the plan for you?
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the plan. But injuries happen during fights, so it's hard to say too much. But yeah, if I can keep winning and keep, when I'm in this good a shape, I don't want to get out of shape. If I win this next fight, I would love to fight, a couple weeks, a month after. So, yeah, I definitely want to keep fighting back to back.
And give me your immediate goals, man. What kind of is – because I like the way you approach it. You're not trying to rush up the rankings too quick. You're letting yourself develop. But at the same time, you got a lot of momentum. So, what is kind of the short-term immediate goals? Are you thinking about title shots and things like that? What's the plan?
Yeah, I feel like I'm really good about just going with the flow and not expecting anything to happen. I remember doing an interview when I was in LFA saying I'm not really worried about getting signed to the UFC until I'm 25 years old, 26 years old. So I'm not expecting anything, but I also wouldn't be surprised if that belt was wrapped around my waist way faster than I even expect. So I just know I need to go out there and perform, and that's literally pretty much consumes all my energy of what I need to get the job done this Saturday night.
I love it, man. Well, you said you got a good feeling about it, so let's let me know when you play this one out in your head. How do you see this thing going?
First round knockout for sure, absolutely, 100%.
Love it, man. Always appreciate the time, brother.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, brother.
I'll see you soon. All right, no shortage of confidence there from Sean O'Malley, as you would expect. But I do love the way that he, talks about his career. It's like, listen, I know I've got a few more wins to get. I know I've got, he's not necessarily rushing to the top, but he does say, I do see big things in my future. I love this fight. I really do. I thought it was funny that Sean basically said, I kind of knew who Eddie was, but not really. Eddie Wineland is, hopefully anybody listening to this show knows. Eddie Wineland is a tough, durable, fun fighter. And he will go out there and strike. Sean is pretty fantastic and also 10 years his junior. So I think, we may end up seeing that difference. Sean is a huge favorite according to the odds makers. But I guess just let it be said, this may be the UFC kind of teeing up a veteran name that has a favorable style.
Like the gatekeeper
yeah,
sort of thing.
I think that's kind of what this is. But let it be known that Eddie Wineland does not give two Fs about Sean O'Malley and his hype train and all that. Like, Eddie's going to go out to fight, and I think that's going to be exciting. It may prove to be to his detriment because Sean O'Malley looks to be a special talent. But it's good. But it's going to be a fun fight.
Yeah, Eddie's never been one of those guys that is going to go out there and be like, "Oh, let me think my way through this whole fight. Let me sit back and." I think I'm going to just try to throw some strikes and kicks this first one and kind of lay off, and I'll catch him in the third round. Like, that's not Eddie Wineland. Nope. Eddie's going to walk for it and knock your damn head off. It could be exciting because both of these guys are going to like to throw. Eddie's going to want to come out there, and he's going to want to throw. He just has to be careful of overextending himself because some of the grappling we've seen Sean in these the quintet. We've seen him do all this grappling. He's just a fantastic grappler. He's a fantastic guy that he's able to work himself. If he can get the fight to the ground, he's a whole nother level on the ground right now. Will be interesting in this kind of fight is this could be the kind of fight where Sean wants to show that he's also one heck of a striker. That could work in Eddie's favor if Sean decides to take his time and sit back and let Eddie find his striking and work it in there. It's going to be interesting because Eddie, I feel, is going to want to try to come forward, want to try to dominate. But if you get into the clinch and give that point where Sean can sort of work it to the ground, work some sort of a judo toss or some sort of a throw in there, it's going to be bad. But also, we've seen Sean has some pretty darn good striking as of lately as well. I mean, he's exciting. He's one of these cats that we always say of this new breed of kids that have been 100%. Coming up in the whole MMA thing, watching these cats. I mean, just throwing on, kudos, Tapology, going back and Eddie's been fighting since the early 2000s. Like 2003 was like, this dude's having pro fights. That was 17 years ago. That's like 2 years older than Sean.
Yeah.
Sean's like 15 coming in here.
O'Malley was 8 when Eddie Wineland made his pro debut.
That's nuts. So he literally could have been watching Eddie fight. I mean, Sean is a testament to this new breed of what these fantastic fighters that grew up doing MMA is. And kudos to Eddie because the fact that he's still doing this and doing it at such a high level is a testament to his physical state, his mental state, and his ability to keep doing this. But it works in his favor if he can do some damage early on, because as the fight goes on, regardless of all of that experience, you're going against youth, and you're going against a guy that's Sean is just fighting on a whole nother level right now. That last fight was easily. I mean, people always say, "Oh, it's the best he ever looked," but holy crap!
And off of a 2-year layoff,
it was easily the best he has ever looked, and he looked scary. He looked like he was fighting in a different weight class than what he was. He was so dominating in that performance. What are the odds on this? Is he a heavy favorite?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, it's bad. It's O'Malley's minus 500.
Yeah,
it's minus 500.
That's pretty big, but with reason. I mean, there's always that play. I mean,
and by the way,
you're the kind of person that
bet down to minus 500, it opened at minus 400.
Wow!
And people were willing to lay the minus 400 on him.
I mean that's the thing. I mean, there's always going to be a couple people. You want to be. If there was a fight on the card where there is the possibility of getting that underdog that takes the fight, this is probably the one on this card. This has the possibility, because if Eddie goes out there and lays those hands early on and catches that chin, Sean's going to go down. But we've seen Sean can take a punch. He's able to. Nobody seems to land pretty clean on him lately. He's got great head movement, and just the fact that he's coming in there on a whole nother level. I'm not sure about his hair choices, but I'm an old dude, So do your thing, young man, and be strong. And this should be a fantastic fight. I would just like to see Eddie go out there and get some good licks in, because he's done
give
a
it
lot
the real
of
test. Oh, I agree.
Give him a real test.
Eddie's been around the game for a long time. So listen, I think this main card's great. It's funny because if you can't afford the $60, I'd say, I guess, things are opening back up again, so you might be able to go to like your local Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever. But I'm telling you right now, when I go to Buffalo Wild Wings, like I spend way more than $60. So,
well, you're not the normal BW.
Yeah. They don't. I probably drink a few more frosty beverages than most people do.
That's a good tip. That's a
pro
tip right there.
But if you go, remember social distancing. We're still
yes.
Hey, we're partially opening again, but this thing is not gone. It's not
gone.
So you
have to sit. So if it's like other places, you can't belly up then at the bar.
You have to sit
at a bar top.
I will say in Vegas, I have been to B-Dub since it opened. Probably no shock there, but yes.
Shocker.
I know the bar area is open, but they only sit at the tables. You can't go to the bar top anymore. And then the tables.
So they have to come to you. You can't even go up to the bar.
That's right. You have to let them come serve you at the tables. And then the tables in the dining room are all like 6 feet apart, so there's space everywhere. So, of course, all the staff is wearing masks.
What they need to do is, like, one of the things we've seen in other countries, especially like Japan, is just the table ordering, where they have the electronic menus.
Yeah, where you just order
This
right
is
there.
the perfect time for that stuff. If it's at your table, you would be running those motherfuckers nuts, though. You'd be like,
all my special orders.
They'd be like, we just brought you a beer, sir. And you're like, yes, and bring me 2 more. This one's gonna be done here shortly.
I am the worst about sitting with an empty drink, dude.
You hate this guy. Let me take it behind the curtain. we're trying to cash out. You typically try to cash out of a bar night with John Morgan, and he'll order 1 or 2 just for the bill coming out, because he doesn't like to be without that frosty beverage.
That's it. And I'll order 2 for myself. I'll order
no, it's not like
he's
ordering for anybody else when he's leaving.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty sad, but I don't like to sit there with an empty glass like while I'm waiting for the check.
You like to finish your glass and then walk the F out.
I want to finish my drink and walk out. Yeah, just like that. So I'll pay while I have a drink on the table. Yeah. Take a drink and walk outside.
You're right. That's riding the momentum. Because if you finish it and you're like, things are good, and then you're like, we're waiting 20 minutes. You're like, I could have had another one.
See, this is
that's a pro level.
Give me 2 more and a check. Give me 2 more and a check.
It's not just the 1 more in the check.
Give me 2 more and a check. That's the Morgan move right there. If you want the veteran move, I'll take 2 more and a check.
That's right. Because you could always just leave some there.
That way, if you. Okay, sure. Sure you can.
You can always just be done. I'm like, oh, there's half a beer there. Oh, I'm just going to leave it.
Yeah, totally. That happens all the time. All the time. All right, let's talk about the prelims real quick. Won't break down every fight, but listen, again, I think this card is entertaining. I totally get it. Again, if money's tight, but I think the card's entertaining. Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres versus Chase Hooper. You talk about kids.
Because this will be on ESPN Plus.
That's right. You talk about kids coming up in the game. Chase Hooper, 20 years old, the teenage dream. Just his second UFC fight. Big moment for him. It was funny. I was asking him. I was like, hey, man, when Caceres made his UFC debut, you were 11. So you had to have watched him come up fighting. And Chase was like, yeah, I didn't really watch that many fights growing up. He's like, I know who he is. But
it looks like he watched like science shows or something.
I didn't really watch many fights, so I don't. He's like, I kind of know who he is, but whatever. It's exciting. So he's a next level talent. Gerald Mearshart is on there again against Ian Heinisch. It does seem like Anthony Ivy is going to stay on the UFC roster. Will get another opportunity, but it does look like Ian Heinisch is going to be able, as far as right now, as we're sitting here, going to be able to fight. Brian Kelleher is back. He was just fighting a couple weeks ago. He's back. Cody Stamann, man, brutal story. His teenage brother passed away recently. Family doesn't even really know what happened to him yet. As best I could tell, they don't have an official cause of death. Amazing, man. I mean, two great guys right there. Cody Stamann fighting with a heavy heart. Brian Kelleher, all class, actually reached out on social media once the story started circling a little bit and gave respect to him and said, listen, man, I'll be fighting with you with a heavy heart, but obviously we're going to go in and do it. So two class acts right there. Charles Bird versus Maki Pitolo. That could be absolutely bonkers. Those two dudes are going to go throw down. And then you go down to the early prelims. Juicio Formiga against Alex Perez. Looks like it could be solid. Devin Clark, Alonzo Minifield could be fun. And a late addition, Herbert Burns jumping in there against Evan Dunham. The Burns family doing big things, and obviously we always like Evan Dunham here in Vegas. So I'm telling you, up and down.
When he breaks your 8 or 9 team parlay.
Yeah, that's what.
That's the only time I don't like you, Evan. Outside of that, you're awesome.
Oh man, but I think this card's gonna be good. Again, like I said, I don't think it's gonna be a big seller, but I think it's gonna be fun. A lot of interesting matches. Any of those prelim matchups that stand out to you most, or that you're most looking forward to?
I like the Bird and Pitolo for sure.
Yeah, they're going to bang.
That is an awesome fight. The Minifield-Clark fight, I think, could be an absolute really good fight. You hit the head on Dunham and Burns. Dunham is a Vegas favorite. I mean, we love that dude. Stamann and Kelleher, that's an awesome
fight.
This
card is good.
It really, really is. I mean, if you need a nice distraction from this week, from the world, this is a good fight, but good card. And I know we say it a lot of times, but man, this is a good card.
I think it's gonna be entertaining.
But yeah, if I had to pick one off the top, when it goes down below, I would say Bird Pitolo is the one that I'm like.
That should be bonkers.
Super stoked, but man, Formiga Perez is good too. This is a good card.
I'm telling you, man, it doesn't have that star power at the top, which sucks. I don't think it's gonna do great. But I think we're going to have a good night of fights. All right, big story that continues to be a big story. I want to talk about. Obviously, we wanted to preview UFC 250 and talk about our experience this week. But Jon Jones, I want to get your thoughts on that because the thing keeps going back and forth. Hopefully, we get a chance to talk to Dana White after the weigh-ins. He's been scrumming for the media after the weigh-ins on Friday morning, so hopefully we get him. There's no promise that we will. But I'm interested to see where this thing is at. Jon Jones is trying to come out and say he's done. He's walking away. He'll give up his belt. I think, to me personally, I think cooler heads are going to prevail. I do. I think they're going to find a way to come together here. Obviously, man, you were here. You got to hear the John. We talked about it a lot last week. I mean, you heard the conversation. You're one of the only people that actually heard the words and got to hear the audio and know kind of how his voice sounded and where his emotion was. And he's obviously gotten more emotional since then.
Yeah.
And he made it clear from the beginning, like, I'm not mad. He's like, I don't understand why they won't pay me this money. I think the biggest thing to be clear about in this, and I'm not trying to defend the UFC because I understand both people's position, I think a lot of people have made the mistake in that they've said that, that Dana or the UFC has said you can't make Deontay Wilder money. That's not true. What they're saying is we can't pay it to you on the front end. You have to share in the back end the way the deal is set up. If you believe it's a home run, and we think it's probably a home run, you'll make really good money, and we'll try to figure something out. But John was saying, and I understood his point. I thought it was a great point. And honestly, man, we're talking about standing up for change and the world and all that, man. Like, I don't know, man. You know, maybe it is. I never really feel good about the prospects of a fighter union because I've seen too many starts and stops, and I've never seen everybody be able to get on the same page, and I've never seen everybody be able to get together. But I liked what John Jones was saying. It's like, look, I'm the one taking the physical risk. You take some financial risk, and let's be partners in this thing. But I guess I want to say the UFC is not saying, they're not putting a cap on what he can make. They're just saying, we're not going to pay it to you on the front end. You got to make it on the back end. So I understand both people's perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, they get it. They had their own interests at heart. So I'm not trying to make either one the villain. You know, the UFC is trying to protect their business. John Jones is trying to protect his business. I get it. I guess I wanted to get your take on how you feel about the situation, but also to offer my feeling that I do believe that right now, you know, everybody's upset. And I do believe right now there is so much stuff going on with the UFC trying to get Fight Island going, trying to even get Vegas going. I mean, technically, the next two events aren't approved yet. They get approved on Monday. So the UFC is trying to get all their ducks in a row. And I think it's just easier for Dana to be like, bro, I ain't got time for you right now. Like, if you want to stand and argue, like, hey, take it outside. I ain't got time for that right now. So I think right now we're not going to see a lot of movement because, like, Dana is just so focused on getting the UFC back on track. But I believe once we get a little bit more routine going, John Jones is clearly in a spot where he doesn't financially need to fight. I think he wants to. And right now, I think Dana and the UFC are in a place where they're like, dude, we're talking about replacing people on Thursday night due to positive COVID-19 tests. We're not in a place where we can deal with this. Yeah. So I think it's the wrong time to get into these situations, to get into these kind of discussions. But I think once the schedule gets a little bit back to normal, I think they'll come together.
Yeah, and I think when you put it that way, it makes a lot of sense because that's true. This is the kind of discussion that you shouldn't – that it makes sense that it doesn't need to happen right at this moment. You know, these fights that John wants to happen, and it's one thing if he, for some reason, says this needs to happen right now. I need to have a contract in hand. I can see what the UFC is like, well, I just can't possibly do this right now. We are dealing with a lot of stuff. That being said, the UFC should still be able to treat every fighter in every instance differently and separately outside of their other expansion plans and everything else. The fact that you're trying to buy an island to keep moving forward doesn't mean that me and you that have business relations and we do something should be affected and should be put on hold because you can't do two things at one time.
That's fair.
You know, I mean...
That's fair.
Because, I mean, I'm an independent contractor, bro. I'm not your employee. What your business practices doesn't affect me. You know, like if you're trying to expand and one thing doesn't, you know, affect me, we do business and we should be able to come to an agreement with how me and you are going to deal with each other.
Right.
So, and the thing with asking, like where he's saying, like, oh, he can get Deontay Wilder money, but we just can't give it up front.
Well, you made Dana country all of a sudden.
I know. That's the PPR. I didn't mean to go like that. But right now, where's my hat? Where's my and my corncob pipe? But also for Wilder's not like I mean, I don't know how the boxing finances actually work out, but boxing is able to get a lot of that stuff laid out beforehand. They're not saying like, hey, Canelo, you're going to make X amount of dollars if you get a lot of pay-per-views. That doesn't happen. So the fact that you say, I want to, we're not saying you can make Wilder money. We just, you know, we got to work together and we'll get it on the back end. That's the exact thing of saying, I'm not going to give you your guaranteed money.
Right.
And what Jones is saying is, I want my guaranteed money. If I'm going to take an excess exponential risk bigger in a different direction, even if it's for one time, we should be able to agree that it is worth more value than what we are getting. And that all I'm asking you is to say, yes, I agree with you. I am taking the risk. And then if you want to be a true partner in business, say, okay, we both realize that there's value in this thing. Let me up my end a little bit one time for this deal. Will it be the Wilder money? No. But can it be a little bit closer? Probably. And that probably wouldn't affect you buying your darn Fight Island because one, it should be two different things.
It's just a lease.
It's just a lease. But even that, it's like, do you only have one small little bit of money and it's either Fight Island or John Jones gets his money? Probably not.
Right.
You probably have enough money where you could
different...
give John Jones his money and still get your island and still pay your employees that haven't done work for months. I love those employees, by the way. I love those employees, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
We have a lot of good friends there, but it's funny. We do have some friends that quite openly admitted, like, I haven't done anything for months. Anything for 2 months. We had no fights. What was I supposed to do?
Fights. But so I get Jones's, not that I'm completely Team Jones, and I'm not anti UFC because I get both sides, but when I look at what Jones is saying, it all makes sense to me. And then the hard line that he's putting, he's drawn his line in the sand, and I respect him for it. And I agree that something should happen. Does it need to be the huge dollar amount that maybe people are starting to throw out when they're saying, Wilder money and whoever money?
$25 million, $30 million guaranteed.
Anything more. Give the man the possibility to get something more up front for this one-time extra fight that's not even in the division that he normally lives in. It makes sense to me that you would be willing to move something. And if Jones is saying, I'm not asking for something crazy, I just want the ability. I want the token, the effort that you are in this with me and that you're giving me the freedom to do something. And I guarantee Jones would be like, okay, cool. Even if it's something more. If he's saying, I'm getting 5 now, not that it even needs to be 15, that it needs to be 20. I mean, even if you double it, which I can see where somebody's like, whoa, that's an absolute crazy amount, you're doubling. Even if you jumped up to 10, knowing that, maybe you work something out where it's like, okay, I'm going to give you 10. I'm giving twice what it is, but maybe that means we cut a little bit on the back end.
I completely agree with that. He says
the UFC should be big enough to switch it. Why put it all on the fighter to be the back end?
I agree with that. He says he's making around $5 a fight. He put that on Twitter. He's making around $5 million a fight. I would say if you're the UFC, look, we'll pay you $10 million up front, but now that sliding scale that you have, it lowers. Now you're taking more up front, you get less on the back end or whatever.
And how I don't see Jones arguing with that.
Right.
I mean, I think then you get to a healthy point of debate as for what the percentage reduction would be.
I just think the UFC's in a position where they're like, I don't want to deal with this right now, or at least Dana very much. I don't want to deal with it. I got too much going on.
That I get. Like right now, the point of the world and where we're at right now, it doesn't make sense to have to deal with it, but also that by not dealing with what makes sense, you have a fighter that has no interest to fight in his division right now because he wants to have this fight that you've allowed every other fighter that's held a belt to do these fantastic fights elsewhere. I mean, it'd be one thing if there had never been a Conor fight outside of his division. You've already set the precedent that you allow fighters to go do this crazy shit outside of their division. So how dare you stop doing it now because it doesn't make sense because you have a bunch of other shit you're dealing with. You started this.
That's so true. I mean, it is true.
I mean, they set
that's
the precedent.
Why they were adamantly
Look
opposed
at Henry
to it.
Cejudo. Even Henry Cejudo did it. Like, everybody's doing it. So now all of a sudden,
I mean,
you're going to stop.
Nunes is fighting this weekend.
Exactly. I mean, and now you're going to just stop because it doesn't make sense conveniently for you.
I think the other thing, too, is it's easy for John to do this, like to say, like, I'll just give up the belt, because he's had the belt.
Thank you, Agent H. By the way, Agent H came. I sent her a text message. I sent her a text. I was like, "Can you come add some ice?"
Dude, I thought I was just going to give her credit. I thought she just came to freshen up the ice.
Never mind.
I was like, the service is on point around here.
Right? I'm telling you, the staff I keep on hand is well-oiled machine.
I was gonna say about Jones, though, like, I think it's easier for him, too, because he's been... Like, had he never been stripped of the title, like, had he never, felt what it's like to not actually have the belt, if maybe he had some ridiculous streak of 18 straight title defenses that, he had this UFC record that he didn't want to give away, you know what I mean? Like, I do think it's really easy for John to just be like, this belt, I can come win this back, like, anytime I want, dude.
That's
like,
it.
I do not care about this.
That's
Take
it.
this. Hey, Jan, Dom, go do your thing, because I'll come back and win this whenever the hell I feel like it.
That's it. And it's hard to argue with that. And at that point, you hate to see it because, one, then you get to the nasty side of things where if they don't want to meet or sort of even just work a middle section where he's like, well, then just release me. Then you get to the dirty, nasty side where if the promotion's like, no,
Yeah.
We're not going to. And then at that point, you are affecting this man's ability to earn
because they will not release him.
They will not release
Absolutely
him.
not. And they'll continue to offer him fights.
Yeah.
And he'll continue to turn them down. And every time he does, he'll get his contract extended because that's what happens. If you turn down a fight, they're no longer in default. They offered you a fight and you didn't take it.
Yeah. It's just you hate to do that because you would like to think that by doing those sort of practices eventually it will put such a black eye on your organization that you would stop doing it. But that has not happened yet.
But it is weird. I mean, would John Jones really be worth? All right, let's say the figure. Like, I think when we had that thing, Deontay Wilder, somebody said $20 million. I think it was Oscar Willis who said I heard $20 million, and I think Dana said I heard $30 million. Let's go $20 million. Let's go conservative. Could John Jones really make $20 million fighting for Bellator? And I'm not trying to disrespect Bellator, but like. Is there a fight? I mean, you got Ryan Bader there. I mean, obviously they have history, and Ryan Bader is a pound-for-pound fighter right now. But, like, is that fight worth $20 million to Bellator? I don't know, man. That's a lot of damn money, dude. I mean, obviously, you'd immediately have to go back to pay-per-view. You can't put a fight on, even if they're on CBS. You know, they're talking about CBS, Showtime, they're talking about whatever. I mean, you got to immediately go back to pay-per-view with that.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to.
$20 million?
When you think about it, though, just using the $20 million. So, say Francis and John were able to take the fight elsewhere. To get at $60 a pay-per-view, you need to sell 333,333 pay-per-views to get $20 million.
So that's only one side of the equation.
That's just saying, if you want to give 10... No, I'm just saying, if you give 10 to John...
Okay.
Even being fair, just say if you split it. But you probably could give 15 and 5. I'm just saying you could work out whatever.
Sure,
but say if $20 million was the pool of money that you're trying to pull together to pay your fighters. 333,000 pay-per-views is all it takes to get John Jones.
No. That's gross revenue. That's not a net split with your provider. That's not
operational
but I'm
just
cost.
Saying, like,
that's not under.
The last pay-per-view was 650, 700 something thousand. It was even better than that. This is just going half of what probably is going to buy this pay-per-view. This pay-per-view
That's no marketing budget.
This pay-per-view easily can make 50, 60, 70 million dollars, and for you to give up 33% of that and still pay your advertising, still have 66% of that money to get a bit of profit on top of that, it seems to me like it would work.
I think it can be done.
I think it would work.
I think they're going to come together. What are we talking about? We're talking about John Jones fighting in Bellator. That's not going to happen. I don't know what we're talking about.
It ain't going to happen. I'm just saying they could go to another promoter and be like Eddie Hearns or something like, hey, make it happen. Me and this guy want to fight. We want $20 million guaranteed between us two fighters with whatever split. Can you make it happen to where we can get that? And I think it could happen because that's the type of fight that I think it could. I think it just, like you said, it's just bad timing. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, with the way the UFC has sort of structured itself, if a fighter's not fighting within that year, if it's not an injury, if it's not some particular reason, they vacate it or they strip it or they do some interim. Jones is just sort of saying, like, I'm willing to sit out for a year.
I mean,
so if that means I need to walk it away.
He just fought in February. I think what happens is we get Fight Island done. We get through July. We get to August. By then, I think the world's going to be going back to normal a little bit. Now, let's not forget, COVID-19 is still out there. Wear your damn mask in August. But I think especially with the NFL pushing, man. I heard Texas today is already saying sporting events can have 50%.
Yeah, but Texas is fucking nuts.
We crazy.
Texas is nuts. Like,
we crazy.
Texas and Florida. If there are two states in the union that are just balls out crazy, it's Texas.
I'm telling you right now, I don't think I would go to Raider Stadium with 50% capacity. I don't think I'd do it.
No, probably not.
I mean, how do you get in? Let's know the story for another day. But
yeah,
I think around August, September, they start talking again. These things get reopened. And I think we see John fight before the end of the year.
I just hope the UFC doesn't try to rush to say that there needs to be, because we see them time and time again. A pay-per-view comes up and it has to be a darn belt.
Right.
Has to be something.
Like,
and at some point, it's just going to be the heavyweight turn.
They didn't mess around calling Cejudo's bluff, right? They're like, oh, you're out? Oh, here we go.
That's it.
All the young.
it's just a matter of time before it's heavyweight division's turn to headline a card. I mean, it just comes. At some point, it's going to be that turn. I mean, they can't keep doing bantamweight, women's featherweight titles.
That's not what gets the big.
Over
that's
over
not
and
what
over.
Get the big headlines.
It's these big ones, the light heavyweight, the heavyweight. I mean, like, that's what it is.
Middleweight Adesanya, but obviously he can't fight stateside right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big star.
They need the upper division. I mean, not that they need it, just people love they love seeing the big fighters go in there because they just expect these knockouts.
That's why Jones
Nunes is like a freak of nature because she's still bringing the knockouts.
That's why Jones and Ngannou just sells itself, dude. The greatest of all time against just the scariest dude of all time. Like, that doesn't even have to hit you clean.
Have you seen? I meant to ask. Have you seen the Ngannou like commercials here in Vegas lately? He's like in car commercials and other stuff. Dude, he does a really good job. Yeah. I meant to say next time I see him, there's one. I forget what the promotion is. I've seen him in a couple. There's a car dealership here in town that's been used him.
Really?
Or something. Yeah. There's like this little girl. She's like going in and she's like, I want this for my mama. And they're like, well, you need to go talk to our customer complaint. Or a customer relation person, and it's Francis, and he's so good. And the kid's like, I want this, and he's like, of course. And blah blah. And she's like, I want this, and he's like, of course. And she's like, and you need to be nice. And he's like, oh, of course, or whatever. And it's very cute. It's cool.
That's funny.
Because there's another one where there's like somebody buys a car and they open up the car and Francis is in the passenger side and he's got his gloves on and he's just wringing his hands. And the guy's like, there's a fighter. There's something in the car. And they're like, yeah, they're like, every car comes with a whatever. I don't know how they tried to word it. But I was like, dude, look at Francis now. Like,
that's awesome.
This is the guy that just a couple years back could barely speak English. Or wasn't even really speaking English.
Yeah.
I remember we were struggling. Here he is now. Every day when I turn on the local news or something, I see a commercial spot with Francis.
That's awesome.
It's so awesome, dude. He's living it up, man. I'm loving it. I'm so happy for the dude right now. So I would love to see this fight work out because one, it'd be good for him and it'd be good for Jones. I mean, I love Jones' stand.
That's a tough assignment for John Jones, dude. I might pick Ngannou in that fight.
I mean, the way that Ngannou's fighting right now, just that power. It's just the fact of you have to. Can you guarantee that you will not get touched by the power?
I think he'd kick the legs too, man. I think he'd go after them little chicken legs.
Well, I think Jones would be kicking Ngannou. I mean, I think he would keep the distance and work the legs on.
I mean, he'd definitely throwing out the front kicks to the knees. Yeah. He's definitely doing that.
And he would be doing the teep kicks, doing all that stuff, and trying to keep that stuff and keep the distance. And if he can keep the distance and just miss those big, huge swings. So it's not like Francis is going out there like, oh, let me pep you with some 1-2-1-2. He's like literally just throwing.
I feel like he'd try to throw a leg kick to just kind of, not necessarily to hurt the leg, but to kind of sweep him off balance so that his defenses, you know what I mean? Because he's got good defensive movement and head movement, but if he's off balance, then you can throw those haymakers and maybe land. I don't know. That's what I
still think he's so good. I think when it comes to that, he could get Francis down, and that's the part. If John can get Francis down,
he'd be in trouble.
He's going to be in trouble, and it's still hard for me. I mean,
I don't know. Could he keep him there though? Could Francis just stand? Could he do the Derek Lewis and just be like,
who does that to Jones? Who just stands up on Jones?
Yeah, but they're not as big as Francis.
Yeah, but Francis, he carries as much as he's got pure power. He's carrying a lot of weight on his body as well. So it's not like he just springs up. Like a lot of these cats that are able to explode are able to just put their legs under them very, very quickly and easy. The way they're able to shift these bodies.
Right.
I think some of these big, super muscular heavyweights, or even just the big muscular heavyweights, they can't. They don't move that quickly, whereas I think the light heavies do it a little bit better because they're a little bit quicker on their feet. Granted, on this point, Jones could probably go up, so maybe we wouldn't see the same sort of speed, but I don't see Jones bloating up too much for this fight. He would be at the lower end. He said he'd put some weight
on, but he would never be. I don't think he can get that big.
He'd be probably 230, 245.
I think he'd be like 240, 245, yeah.
Which would be a good, powerful range. I mean, Francis is cutting to 265.
Yep.
I mean, he came in a lot lighter on this last one, and he looked fantastic. But that's the thing about Jones. I mean, I think that's the kind of fight where, one, he would be excited. I think he's looking for a fight to be excited, to come in and train. He just has to evade that big one punch of Francis. I mean, I don't think Jones is worried about the leg kicks because it's not like we can go back. I mean, I can't think of a fight where I'm like, oh man, remember this fight where Francis was just devastating?
No,
with
he
his
never.
leg
No, he
kicks?
doesn't. He boxes.
He wants to get his hands on it, and I think if Jones can just keep it to the point where he evades the big hit, gets in close, and is just able to, get Francis to topple over and then get on top. And can he hold him down? I think he can, because Jones is a big dude and he's strong. And to know that he has the extra 20 or 40 pounds to put on, that's going to be a whole nother Jones that we haven't seen. We see the 205 Jones come in there.
Yeah, it's not like he's a striker trying to hold another striker down. He's a wrestler that is a complete mixed martial artist. But his base came from wrestling. He understands how to hold somebody down.
And he's at a weight where, I mean, like, you watch that video where he went up to those poor little dudes that were trying to spray paint. He was hulked.
But we weren't doing nothing.
Dude, he was hulked out, and he's not even he looked.
Give me the spray paint.
Talk about intimidating. I'd be like, sir, where can I deposit this can of spray paint? Which trash can would you like me to use?
That was pretty amazing, dude. Like, those dudes are walking around in masks, looking like they're all geared up and trying to be badasses. He's like, give me the spray paint. They're like, we weren't even doing anything. Give me the spray. Here you go.
I love what he's doing for his community right now, and especially I've seen more and more things where he's gone out and they've helped people board up businesses that have been affected about it. So say what you want about some of the shit that he's done, and he's had his mistakes. He
does some dumb stuff. He's made some mistakes.
He's done some really good shit lately, and I know he doesn't get enough credit for it. So maybe that's why I'm like, I want the dude to get his pay. He's done some good shit, and fighters need to start standing up a little bit more for themselves. So
I agree, man. Crazy.
I just hope they can work it out.
I do too. All right, quick shout out, Abby Saban. He had a little health scare this week, man. Obviously, our UK-based video editor over there, videographer, part of the team for several years. He's good now. It sounds like he's on the up and up. He's recovering, but he had to spend a little time in the hospital. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him because he's going to be spending a few days healing up. So I want to send some good vibes to him.
Yes, get well, motherfucker. So I can start sending you my nudies again. That's my dude. That's my dude. He's a super talented dude, and I was super happy when we were able to bring him on. So you hate to see anybody go through some shit, and I just recently went through some of my own shit. So I'm feeling for you. You never want to see a friend in a hospital pick. So that was rough, but he's strong. He's young. So yeah,
he'll bounce back.
Bounce back, fella.
He'll bounce back. All right. Shout out to Abby Saban. UFC 250 this weekend. Like I said, if you want to jump on over to patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow, we'll do a little and a half action over there, wrapping up everything UFC 250. And, getting my office set up, so I think I'll be able to do a few more little interviews.
I'm enjoying
there.
You gotta send those pics to Patreon. I've seen a couple, man. I'm happy for you because it's working out. I've changed my little up.
Oh, dude, you got the spot right. You got the VIP.
I've decked it out a little bit. Yeah, I had one little couch space in there, and I've actually I have a music room where I've been joking about my midlife crisis. I've been buying more music equipment because I want to learn the equipment that I've never actually took the time to learn. So the music room, I had the extra part of this sectional couch inside there. So I actually moved it out here. So yeah, man, I've been decking out my little studio as well. So
I want to sit over here and get some bottle service, dude. You got the VIP suite over here in the.
We could probably find some out of work people to come do bottle service for us. If they want the cheapest tips ever, I should put. No, I'm not gonna put an ad.
Vegas
but we
is
could
probably
work
not fully open yet. We got a spot for you here. We got a spot for you. Good Lord, we're ridiculous. All right, we appreciate it. Like I said, check us out, the MMA Roadshow, patreon.com if you can head over there for the and a half. If not, just stick it here every week. We'll always have it for everybody. Thanks for listening.